Good afternoon, Tecton TV. I know you're going to be watching this. I guarantee you're going to be watching this because I'm going to send it to UK Christian 28 to make sure you're watching this. Okay? Now, after watching, I don't know, 50 or 60 your videos, and I fully intend to watch all the rest, and I'll give you a good reason why in a little bit. But after watching 50 or 60 videos, I sat in my chair and I began to think. Have you ever seen the statue called the Thinker and he's like this? Well, I stood there and I thought, you know, why did Jesus pwn people? Okay, Jesus was pretty selective about the people he pwned. He didn't just pwn anybody. He pwned the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and don't mind my hair. I know I just got out of the shower, alright? So just ignore that. But I got to thinking, you know what? Even when Jesus was pwning people, he was doing it for a good purpose. He wasn't just pwning anybody for just any reason. And I got to thinking, you know what? Here you've been pwning people for years now, and I was starting to get in the habit of doing the same thing. I thought, wait a minute. Tecton's a Christian, Symphonia 7 is a Christian, I'm a Christian, and here we're belittling each other against the very instructions of Jesus Christ. Jesus didn't want us to belittle each other. He wanted us to belittle Pharisees and Sadducees, but not each other. I thought, you know what? I better take a slightly different approach with Tecton TV, even if he doesn't take the same approach with me. Because the way I'm thinking about it is, do I want Jesus to be disappointed in me? And I don't want Jesus to be disappointed in me at all. Now, that doesn't mean I can't argue with you. It just means I don't belittle you. I just come to the realization that you have been so long in whatever office you've been in, that you just don't realize anymore what's going on with the peasants. I do. And the worst part about it is, it's not the peasants' fault. After having long conversations with them, I began to realize whose fault it was. And so, now that I know who is to blame for all of this, I'm sitting here going, okay, we need to shift direction here. I'm not going to stop teaching at all. I'm not going to stop. And the reason for that is that we have some very poor teachers in this world. They're very bad. They're so bad that the people that they've been teaching are now on the unemployment line. And they shouldn't be. It's wrong. So, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to put those teachers out on the unemployment line and take their place. And these bad teachers are not going to like that one bit. But I don't care. Maybe if they were on the unemployment line for a while, they began to realize why they have to teach better. Maybe they'll never get it. I don't care. But anyway, I gotta quit belittling people, even if they ask me some of the dumbest questions in the world. Like, well, is a mouse pad compatible with my computer? Well, you know, that's a pretty dumb question, but I can't go belittling these people just because they ask it. Because then they'll be afraid to ask me anything else. And maybe the question they'll ask me next time will be a little more important. So, I'm not going to belittle them anymore. That's a shame on me. Bad me. I'm a bad person on that one. But anyway, well, to go ahead and answer the question that was posed in the line of, well, is my mouse pad compatible with my computer? I had to think about that for a little bit. And you know what? There may actually be a small issue. It's something maybe even you, Tecton TV, have never thought of. Okay? If the color and the texture of the mouse pad are of a certain texture and color, the mouse may not work. I never thought about that. Until, of course, somebody gave me a mouse pad with a picture of Yoda from Star Wars. Now, you guys don't know who Yoda is. Don't yodel, just go watch the 6 Star Wars movies and you'll know who Yoda is. Because except in the first one, which was episode 4, okay, except in that one, Yoda was in all the rest of them. So then you'll know who Yoda is. But I had a picture of Yoda on here, and between the fabric that the mouse pad was made out of and the fact that the color was green, it was affecting the red sensor of my mouse. So I had to flip it over to use the mouse. Now, it is true that a mouse pad has no cord, so it doesn't directly hook up into your computer. But the color and the texture of your mouse pad can affect the performance of your mouse on your computer. Now, why would I say that? The reason I say that is that they have photographic labs now that can make you a computer mouse out of a picture that you actually take. Now, if you take the wrong kind of picture and the color in that picture starts affecting the red sensor in your mouse, well, you just spent maybe $10-15 on a mouse pad that won't help you. And that's not good. So there is a little validity to this. Not a lot, but a little. Anyway, I'm going to start a series called Raiders of the Lost Lexicon, My Response, because I watched your videos. Now, the thing is that these peasants have been taught so little for so long that they have about a 3rd grade reading level. That's just the way it is. It may not be their fault, but that's the way it is. So, when somebody from the Zeitgeist movement comes along and tells them, hey, Christianity is a fraud, and they present some supposedly credible evidence, hey, they're easily swayed. Now, the kind of people I'm talking about, I give an analogy like Farmer Bob. Okay? Farmer Bob has a lot of horse sense, but not a lot of intellectual sense. And there comes the problem. Alright? Now you say, well, this doesn't really happen. Oh, yes, it does. Even in the Christian world, it happens. In the 1850s, a reverend formulated a song called We Three Kings. Christians all over the world sing this song every Christmas time, not realizing the implications of that song. This is where Zeitgeist comes in. Okay? So Zeitgeist comes in and says, well, there were no 3 kings. That's all part of Orion's belt. Only they don't realize that the Zeitgeist movement was partially correct. Those guys that were going to see Jesus weren't kings. The first question they should ask is, well, if the Magi were kings, what lands were they kings of? Bible never states that. Nowhere else does it ever state that. There you go. So these guys weren't kings. And you say, well, wait a minute. These 3 guys were walking through, they were on camels apparently. They were going through the Judean desert. Now, back at that time, they had a lot of thieves. Okay? There were bandits everywhere in the Judean desert. I can guarantee you that. So we now have 3 unarmed guys, well-dressed, supposedly kings, riding through the Judean desert to get to Jesus. Right? Wrong. Okay? There would be no way, with that many bandits being in the Judean desert, that 3 people would climb on camels and just ride through it. Especially carrying things like gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And yes, these bandits knew who the rich ones were and who the poor ones were. They knew. Why would a bandit attack a poor person? They wouldn't get anything out of it. So they knew who the rich men were. Now, these Magi were as well dressed as kings. They were as wealthy as kings, but they were not kings. Okay? As a matter of fact, the Magi were sorcerers. They knew astrology. They believed in astrology. And they came from a place called Asia Minor, which is another thing that people are not told. Where the heck is Asia Minor? Well, Asia Minor, most of it is in what is today called modern-day Turkey. That's right. These magi did not come from China. They didn't come from Japan. They didn't come from Korea. They didn't come from Vietnam. They came from Asia Minor. And yes, Paul the Apostle also traveled to Asia Minor. There you go. So when you present evidence like that, in that simplistic of a form, then you can get these people, these farmer bobs, to quit being swayed by the zeitgeist movement and get back into Christianity. You can get them back. Trust me. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff that reverends today, now I'm not talking about all of them. Get off that. Anybody says I'm talking about all of them, they're dumb and they're foolish. There are reverends today, however, that never tell their audience these kind of details. And because of that, their flocks are being led away by the zeitgeist movement. And that zeitgeist movement is not the only one. Trust me. So, let's see what we can do about getting these people from being led away. Now, the problem with your videos, Tecton TV, is not the amount of information. I have thoroughly enjoyed the information you presented. You're a very brilliant man. There's no problem with that. It's the fact that you're not getting through to Farmer Bob. You're so busy attacking all these fundy atheists, as you call them, you've forgotten the flock that you're supposed to lead. We're supposed to be shepherds. We're supposed to be leading our flock, and instead of leading our flock, you're standing there and attacking fundy atheists. Well, while you're off attacking the fundy atheists, of course, there's other fundy atheists going into your flock and stealing your sheep. So there you go. You can say whatever you want to me. You can draw me up any way you want. But remember this. Did Jesus ever make dumb caricatures of fellow Christians and humiliate them? Name me one instance he ever did that. He never did. Not to his own people. He went after the Pharisees, he went after the Sadducees, but he never did that with his followers. He never belittled his own followers. It never happened. And I dare you to find some place that you can show he did. I don't think you can. Maybe we should start wearing the hat of humility, So, I think I've stated my case in point, and I'm going to continue this series. I know I didn't really get into it in this video, but I'm going to go ahead and continue this series. And I'm going to teach you people what Tecton was trying to tell you in Raiders of the Lost Lexicon, because he flashed a whole slew of information, and these Farmer Bobs have never heard this stuff before. I guarantee it. You say, well, how do you know that? I know that because I know real-life Christians that are Farmer Bobs, and they still think that there really were three kings. Now, if they're thinking there's still really three kings, then I guarantee you they've not heard a lot of stuff that you've been teaching. So, in my next video, I'm going to go in full presentation, and I'm going to explain what you were trying to explain in a way that Farmer Bob will understand. And if I have to, I'll go through every single one of your videos, and I'll explain every single thing you've been saying in terms that Farmer Bob will understand. And if you don't like me doing it, you do it yourself. In other words, if I don't like the teacher, I'll do the job myself. And I'll do it better. My grandfather always had a saying, put up or shut up. Well, I'm putting up. Let's see how much you put up. This is Ted the Speed Learner. Stay tuned.